Hello, I'm so super excited for this topic today. How to complete college while living with a psychiatric disability. Oh my gosh. So I have 10 pointers. All of these tips feel super helpful and important. The context is I dropped out when I had my first psychotic episode with severe psychiatric disability, and then I went back, got my undergraduate degree with honors, and ended up getting a master's degree as well. So I've written down 10 points that I think will be useful. Number 6 is extremely important, and 10 is the most uplifting, so stick around for the whole video if you are someone with a psychiatric disability that is currently trying to get through, especially your undergraduate degree, but any form of higher education. Now, I want to mention, when we're in this video, I'm not talking about, although it might be helpful for people like this too, I'm not talking about ADHD, I'm not talking about autism, I'm not talking about depression, I'm not talking about anxiety. Those are all real challenging conditions. I'm talking about things, however, closer to schizophrenia, bipolar, and schizoaffective disorder, especially type 1 bipolar. So if you are someone who has one of the more considered a severe mental illness or serious mental illness that is debilitating in these ways, you can still get through college, okay? Now, the other caveat obviously is, yes, there's always financial considerations with everything we're talking about. I am speaking from my own context. If this is helpful, it's helpful. I hope it's helpful for you. And if not, that's also okay. Now, let's get into it. Number one, use ADA accommodations, bro. Use ADA accommodations. The American with Disabilities Act, ADA, is intended for people with disabilities, including psychiatric and neurological disabilities. So much of what I realized as I was going through this process is that my experience of psychosis and mood disorder and psychotic disorder was actually medical. It was actually neurological. I had a manic episode. Thank God didn't end up in the hospital that time during my sophomore year of going back to college. And part of American with Disabilities Act does have assistance and protections for if you're having a medical crisis, then you can, for instance, get things off your academic record. This is really important to understand. You're not alone. There are people who have gone through college with these sorts of conditions before, and part of how a lot of us do that is using accommodations. Usually at most universities, there will be, including junior college and community college and city college, which are excellent. I spent some time at city colleges and community colleges. Such a great resource, especially if you're just recovering from maybe your first psychotic episode or things like that. Really understanding that almost anywhere, including community colleges, but certainly four-year universities, are going to have someone that's assigned, an employee, a staff member, who's actually assigned to the role of helping students like you. And they will be able to walk you through, okay, can you get an accommodation on this? Hey, it looks like you had another medical issue. How can we help you with this? All of that stuff is through a disability coordinator, or there's different titles at different schools, but what you want to do is look into your school's ADA coordinator or disability coordinator of some sort. Find the point person that is designated to help students like you who traditionally, we do drop out a lot. We do have low retention rates, but that's not mandatory. We can get through school, and one of those ways is through the ADA accommodations. Second of all, I hope you already know this, but do work with a good psychiatrist and therapist if possible. This includes if you're coming from a position where you don't have financial access to that, you don't necessarily have good healthcare. This includes on-campus resources, okay? There are often therapists on campus. I had a bad experience with an on-campus psychiatrist. My first year of college, it actually kind of precipitated my first episode, but nonetheless, really, really understanding that taking care of your psychiatric health, of your mental health, I'm sorry, the floor is dirty. Let me tilt the camera up a little bit. taking care of these basic medical requirements for functioning well is going to also play a role in your ability to get through school. That is part and parcel of getting your degree as someone living with this stuff. I'm going to vacuum today, so don't look too much back there. Okay. 3, don't get sucked into campus party culture. Okay. This is a tough one, and this takes a little bit of balance. So yes, you don't want to like miss out on stuff, but really keep in mind, sometimes people who live with these type of disorders, like a lot of us, if you're able to recover and get your degree and live well with a psychiatric condition, even through the ups and the downs and the medical challenges of it, a lot of us end up being like late bloomers. That's okay. That's beautiful. You can create a wonderful life where you get to contribute to this world. You have a healthy, loving relationship, a family, whatever you want in your life that are your personal goals, but it might just not happen so fast. And part of that is to understand, like, yeah, maybe you're not going to get to like drink with everybody as much or smoke weed, or even like, I know in a lot of colleges, there's a lot of hallucinogen use, or like everyone's really excited about even more substances than that. So I made those mistakes sometimes, but for the most part, I think I learned pretty quickly, like that's just not my reality. Like you have to be so confident and emotionally strong in understanding you're someone living with a psychiatric condition that is more severe than most psychiatric conditions, and in many ways, and maybe you don't have as much leeway to get like peer pressured into consuming substances or going to late night parties and drinking. That's okay. It's okay for you not to go. Like, it's okay for you to just get to class on time and have some cool friends or whatever. Or like maybe go to one party a month instead of one party a week. That's valid. Now, I'm not saying isolate, and we'll get to that further in this list, but I am saying don't get like convinced or sucked into party culture on campus. That can be tempting, but it's really not necessarily worth it. You can, and that goes to the 4th point. 4, don't be a perfectionist. Please don't be a perfectionist. One of the biggest traps that I fell into and got out of when I was trying to get through my undergraduate degree, that I ultimately completed with honors, but I was trying to get through this degree and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. Was this thing of like, if I'm not doing it perfectly, then I'm going to fail. That's not true. You don't have to do it perfectly in order to do it successfully. Okay. So really letting go of, and that's something that, especially if you have co-occurring disorders like OCD or things like ADHD and anxiety, but even just living with these psychotic disorders or these mood disorders, it's so easy to just want to do everything exactly right. And if I'm not doing it exactly right, then it's bad. Let that go. Let that go. You don't need to be a perfectionist. You can just be yourself and figure out who that is. College is a tough enough time. You don't need to add stress, okay? 5, this is related. Guys, C's get degrees. C's get degrees. Oh my God. Please, 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 please believe me when I say, if you get C's in classes, you can still get a degree. If you're passing, you will still get your degree in most majors, not all majors, but most majors, that's true. Now, I want to add to this. I used this mantra, this repeated encouragement for myself throughout my college degree. And I ended up getting mostly A's and honors for my GPA. So just because you're applying the knowledge that C's get degrees, don't be a perfectionist, let it go, like do your best, doesn't mean you won't thrive and succeed. You might get A's, but you need to hold on in those moments where it can feel very overwhelming to the fact that, again, for most majors, C's allow you to get your college degree nonetheless, okay? We're gonna keep it pushing. 6. 6. This is the main one. 6. Physical health. Sorry to say that so many times. Physical health is crucial. Physical health is crucial. Physical health is crucial. We are so easily convinced that mental illness is just in the brain. I'm telling you now, one of the best things, one of the biggest mistakes I made, and one of the best things I recovered to understand was that my physical health when I was living in the dorms, had rough friendships for the first part of college. I had great friendships for the second part, but anyway, trying to not party, like all these things that I was doing, I had to start to understand my sleep mattered. What I ate mattered. Hydration mattered. Now there's this whole emerging field of metabolic psychiatry, which is very interesting. I would recommend don't get too into that until after college. Again, just stick it out, tough it out, like get through it the basic, most simplified way you can. But that being said, physical health is crucial. If you can get into going to the gym, that can be helpful. Whatever your, walk to class, like whatever and enjoy the walk to class, be present, deep breathing, your version of physical health and whatever your version of pursuing physical health is going to be helpful and useful for completing higher education with psychotic mental illness or severe mental illness. Doesn't have to be psychotic, but with serious mental illness. Okay. So please, that's like key. Like pay attention. If you're feeling like I can't get through school, I'm so nervous. Check in on your physical health. Are you eating a lot of sugar? That might be a problem. Are you drinking too much caffeine? Check in on caffeine. Energy drinks aren't going to have the same impact on someone with a mood disorder or a psychotic disorder as a regular college student. Really being diligent about those basics. Is it too hot in your room? Too cold in your room? Like, are there things you can do to improve your physical health that will support your mental and psychiatric and neurological health in order to support you in getting your degree? Okay? It's actually exciting. One of the best days of my entire life was my graduations. So 7, this is a good one. Accept the seasons. Accept the seasons, the phases, the cycles. As people with severe mental illness, we are naturally, every human being is like this, by the way, but we are even more prone to having cycles and seasons in our life. So like, not me spilling water. Let me just put my hair over that so you don't have to think about it. That's fine. It'll dry. Really knowing, so in terms of college with severe mental illness, the seasons could look like I have 4 classes this semester. It feels like too much. It's overwhelming. I'm not doing well in any of them. Then next semester, I have 5 classes, but I love these classes. They're all aligned, mostly aligned with my major. I'm doing really well. Accept those seasons, right? Then you get senioritis. Senioritis it doesn't have to be real, but for me it was. And then you have to figure out all these other things like I'll be 30 years old no matter what, I'll be whatever age no matter what. 27, I think, is when I graduated undergrad. And then I got my master's by, I think, 31. Maybe younger, maybe 30. Yeah, 31. So that's the other thing. Don't get too concerned about the timeline. Just accept the cycles, accept the seasons, accept yourself for who you are and the process of getting through school for what it is. It really is worth it. I feel extremely thankful. Part of rebuilding my sense of self after a psychotic break and extreme treatment resistant months and months and months over the course of years of psychosis and brain damage from the psychosis, part of rebuilding my sense of self was going back and getting a degree in interdisciplinary biology. Like I still can understand science. I can still study things, and it really helped me. It really, really, in my experience, if you can do it healthily, financially healthily, in whatever ways, it's worth it. So, okay, 8. Number 8. Prioritize healthy friendships. Okay. How do I want to phrase this? Basically, when you're in college, it's such a great time to make friends, right? You're around so many different people. Some of these friends, if you're lucky, or if you approach it with an open mind and a chill demeanor, could be friends for life, right? I'm still friends with my friends from college, and we've known each other for 10 years now, and she's a wonderful human being. I feel extremely thankful. So really understanding when you're in college that the people that you're friends with will impact your lived experience of college, okay? Especially with severe mental illness. So I had to not only have friends that, first of all, again, this is a mistake I made that I learned from. Like, I had some friends that were not the best when I first was back in school. So when I first was back, I had some amazing friends that I am also actually still connected with that are amazing people, including my first roommate when I went back to school is like one of my favorite people in the world, and we talk sometimes, and yeah. But then I had some not so great friends that were partying a lot and were not super trustworthy. And then I had some good friends, and then I had some great friends. I had a little friend group at the end of the time that was amazing people, one of whom I'm still very close with, and we talk all the time. And I knew her the whole time I was in school, but we were really close towards the end of it. So prioritizing healthier friendships to get through college as someone with severe mental illness basically means, like, you might want to have friends who can understand you, who can understand your illness if you choose to share that with them, who can understand your mood fluctuations, and also maybe who aren't pressuring you to party. Maybe friends who study. You should be friends with people who want to get their degree. Okay? Don't be you can be friends with anyone, but when you're friends with people who aren't prioritizing schoolwork, it's going to be harder to get your schoolwork done, like point blank period. So just keep that in mind. You're naturally coming from a place that's a little bit more sensitive as someone living with severe mental illness. So try to be even more gentle and curating of your environment and yourself is trying. Because you're already in a little bit tougher of a starting point. So it's even more important than a regular student for you to prioritize healthy friendships with people who are prioritizing their schoolwork, especially. Or even just like having good conversations, having fun, being good people, whatever that looks like, right? So, 9. Yeah, this is a tough one. Okay. 9 is a tough point. So basically, number 9 tip to get through school with severe mental illness: don't get too distracted by romance, but also be gentle. So this point has nuance. You will have to find nuance to how you take care of yourself socially, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually while you're going through school as someone with severe mental illness. It's challenging, but it's worth it. It's like you're building muscles. You'll be stretching and figuring out how to be your best self just to get through school. And that will help you later in life, especially as someone with severe mental illness. Like, it's so cool to have that resilience. I can even just think back and be like, well, I got my degree with fucking extreme psychotic mood disorder. So clearly, clearly I can do this too, or whatever it is. So, okay, don't get too distracted by romance. Basically, this is a complicated point, but so as people with severe mental illness, whether you have a psychotic disorder, psychotic spectrum disorder, or a mood disorder with psychosis or whatever it is easier for us to get swept up into romantic ideologies, fantasies, different people, whatever. So just be conscientious of when you're in school for the amount of years that you're going through college, whether it's undergraduate or even a graduate degree or even PhD. Like, I do hope to, anyway, whatever. PhD is different. That's a whole other thing. But when you're going through undergrad, those years that you're there, whether you're going back and you only have a few years left or, whatever, or if you have more time and it's taking more time, your goal, your primary goal, yes, it is to be healthy, to be well, to develop healthy friendships. All that's true. But your primary goal is to get your degree. Your primary goal is to learn the material and to obtain a college education. If that's what your goal is, that's what your goal is. So many of us have a tendency to over kind of romanticize romance, that can be sometimes detrimental to the primary goal of getting through school. Also, remember, this point number 9 has nuance. Also, be gentle. So don't berate yourself. Don't be harsh with yourself. Be loving and be kind with yourself about crushes, romance, or dating. But have in the back of your mind an awareness. My suggestion is have in the back of your mind an awareness that the goal is to get through school, to become your best self, to develop community. The goal maybe isn't, If you meet your partner in college, great. But again, try to get through college, you know? So it's like finding that nuance, finding that balance, right? Being gentle with yourself, but also still prioritizing school. Okay, 10. This is the best point. Number 10, trust yourself, trust the process, and if applicable, trust God or the universe or whatever. So the biggest thing that helped me in getting through college while living with a severe mental illness, specifically going back to school after I dropped out from getting arrested with severe mental illness and hospitalized, was to genuinely just choose to trust the process. Choose to trust yourself, to trust that you're here to have a relatively good life, to contribute, to learn, to be your best self, and that you have already decided, because you already decided when you went into school, that college is a part of that for you. So trust that. And trust the process. And if you are someone with faith, trust God. If you're not someone with faith, trust the experience, trust existence, or even trust the universe. But really trust yourself and trust the process. Now, part of that, and kind of the last thing I'll say is, please remember, in alignment with this last point, with point number 10, people have done this before you. People will do this after you. People with severe mental illness are capable of getting through college education, through higher education, through graduate degrees, even through doctorates and PhDs. We are people who are not intrinsically limited by our disorders. Yes, they are limiting. They are challenges. Give yourself credit for that. Remember, accept the seasons for what they are. Accept the cycles for what they are, right? Be gentle with yourself. Don't be a perfectionist. C's get degrees. Like all of these awarenesses that and physical health is crucial. Be loving with yourself. However, keep in mind, this is possible. It has been done. You absolutely can do this. And if you want to do this, which you seem to if you're already in school, then let yourself have the opportunity to thrive and get that degree. I know you can do it. Time will pass either way. Get your degree. Good luck. And yeah, congratulations on starting the process.